2014 Toyota Tundra. Here's what we're going to use. OFC 8 gauge from SCAR, SWRTY61N, Crux harness, the Nikita WD-011 front camera, 7709S. The bottom one is going to be the front, and then the back. Here's the dash kit part number for the radio. For the speaker, pretty much the same. For the rear, and then for the front. So we're going to start with laying out all the harness and things like that. So here's the Crux kit right here, along with the dip switch, which you're going to go from Kenwood off, on, and on, from 1 to 4. And in the bottom, steering wheel control setting would be off, on, off, on. So I already got that switched over. We're going to go ahead and prep the wiring and get everything ready. I'm going to read up on the manual real quick just to see how to activate the front camera. But overall, this is pretty much as close as pretty easy install, I would say. But I still got to read everything just to make sure I'm plugging in everything the right way and not pretty much just anywhere. This is to retain the factory USB port on the bottom of the stock radio. So that's a good thing. So we don't have to run any cables or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay everything out and then see what we're working with. So I got the wiring pretty much done up. Everything is pretty much self-explanatory. You just match the color wire from here to the radio's wiring diagram. The only thing that's going to be different is the light green right here. This is for the parking switch. You can hook it up to your e-brake or you can bypass it. That's going to be your choice. So as far as the purple with the white stripe, that's going to go to the reverse wire from, let me see this right here. Reverse trigger wire, which is red, white. And then pretty much all the colors are going to be pretty much self-explanatory, matches the colors. I did have this ground and 12 volt tagged into the accessory and ground. What this will do is it's going to tie into the front camera, which is going to be plugged in, labeled front camera. And then you're going to hook up the rear camera to the bottom right here. The reverse wire going down here. And then the parking switch to ground, which is the bypass method. And pretty much everything is self-explanatory. This is for the USB extension that's going to be plugged into your factory one. But other than that, it's pretty much self-explanatory. So we're going to go ahead and put the dash kit in and then keep on moving. So pretty much mounting the radio to the dash kit, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to get all that parts. Here's the part number for that. The only thing that's going to come off is the AC control. You're going to be attaching the side pieces to the front. So this is what you're going to need right here. So just follow along that. 4 screws. Mount the radio from the back. Hold it with 4 or 6 screws, whichever one you choose. So this is how it should look. Once you have everything mounted, everything is pretty much secured, so it's not going anywhere. But overall, it looks pretty good in there. Got the harness already prepped, and it's ready to go in the car. It is now morning. We're going to go ahead and do the front speakers first, and then we're going to go move on to the rear. Haven't installed the radio yet, just because I want to knock all these stuff out. Get the remote wire, RCA, and the front view camera video cable prepped. So we're going to go ahead and take this apart and show you what that looks like. To remove the door panel, just go ahead and pop this corner piece. It's just held by little clips, 3 of them. So just put that aside. This one is what's called a push clip. So you push that center in a little bit and then that clip would release. So I already pushed it in. Let's pop it off. Don't lose that. Put it aside. And then you're going to also pop this little cover right here. Get that out. Hopefully it doesn't fall off trying to do it by one hand. It'll expose a screw. Then also there's a screw underneath that little cover. He's missing the little foam deal, but it'll expose a little screw right there. So go ahead and take that off, and we're going to move on to unpopping the door panel. Anytime I do these Tundras, I don't really have to even take off the whole door panel. What you do is just pop the power window switch up so it'll release, and then all the cables are still going to be attached from the back, as you can see. So just kind of move it aside, and then you'd be able to access the 6x9 in the front. So that's technically all you really need, so you don't really even have to take it off. And as you can see, it's held in there just fine, so it's not going to fall off or anything. But as soon as you take off the speaker, obviously it's going to come off, so just be worried about that. But yeah, like I said, you don't even have to take it off, and there's the speaker right there, only held by 410s or a Phillips screwdriver. So go ahead and take that off and pop the speaker off. Before you start plugging in the terminals to the speaker, make sure you insert it in this little opening right here. When you do insert or try to push the connectors in, make sure you support the bottom piece, as this can bend, and if that thing bends, you're going to be kind of trying to hold that in place. So just a little tip for you. So I'm going to go ahead and attach all the part numbers for all these parts, but I'll go ahead and add it in. That's the speaker harness, that's the speaker adapters, and obviously the model number for the speaker. So yeah, go ahead and screw everything down, and then we'll start mounting the speaker panels or the door panels. I ran into a little problem with the dash kit. I used some of the hardware that came with the Alpine, which are these thicker screws, and when I insert it to the opening where it should be, the screws are kind of loose, and I just didn't feel safe using it. It felt like the hole is a lot bigger. I did try different screws. Like I said, I just didn't like how it's held in there, like it's not tight. So what I did is I just kind of offset the speaker a little bit to the left. As you can see, the openings are right there, and I just drove new screws. And it's way tighter in there, since it's pretty much a tighter fit, I guess. And you're gonna see from the back, the screws are right there, and the opening for the actual dash kit opening, I guess, for the screws are just right next to it. But like I said, I just didn't like how it fits. I didn't like how loose it is, and being that the speaker is so heavy, I prefer to do it this way. That way it's kind of tighter in there, so that's not going anywhere. So like I said, go ahead and pretty much zip tie this in, plug it in, and test it out. Once you have the speaker mounted, go ahead and zip tie the connector to the harness. That way it doesn't flap around when you're driving around and hitting the metal, all sorts of noise. I did have to notch off a little bit of the ear on top and bottom, just to make way for the clip that goes into this little hole right here. But other than that, everything pretty much plugged in there, just like how it's supposed to. So we're going to go ahead and put the door panel and move on to the passenger side. Make sure before you put everything back, power the truck. Make sure the power window doesn't hit the speaker magnet. And then if it doesn't, go ahead and put everything back together. And then we'll move on to the passenger side. Passenger side is all done. So we're going to be moving on to the rears. So for the rears, the only real difference the rear has is that you had to pop off this little panel cover here. Basically it's the same as the triangle in the front, and then obviously the push tab clip right here, and then pretty much same deal. Got to take this little cover off. After you do that, the whole thing just pops off. Just kind of start on the bottom and then work your way up, and that's about it. For the rear speakers, you're gonna go ahead and remove the 6.5 inch adapter. You're gonna break off all the little I guess nipples that is attached, which I already did. And then there's gonna be 2 tabs right here, and then 1 here that you also got to break off. The part number for the speaker harness is the same as the front, however the back is different. So like I said, I'm gonna attach everything in the description, that way you can kind of go back to it. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and mount the speaker now, put new screws, and then take off the old one. So to mount these, I ended up using this type of screw with a little bit overhead or an oversized head. That way it'll sit outside of that ring, and also it not be too long to where it protrudes like that far out and hit the metal on the door panel. So you can use whatever screws you want, but this is how it's gonna look. So it's gonna hold it pretty tight in there without it popping off. Just to show the difference between the stock one and the aftermarket one, this is pretty much almost non-existent magnet, so it's a pretty good upgrade to do this. So we're gonna move on and pretty much replace the radio now that we have all the speakers replaced. The only thing that needs to come off from this side would be to pop this bottom off right here, and then we're gonna take off the climate control, and it's gonna expose 10 millimeters in the back, which I will show you all that as well. So the only thing you're gonna need for this install is a panel remover. Sorry about that noise. That guy does that shit all the time whenever he passes by. But anyway, you're only gonna need this to pop the bottom off. There's gonna be a gap right here. So go ahead and pop that off, and then we'll move on to the next step. This one was a little bit tight, but as I said before, this is just held by clips like that. This one kind of put up a fight a little bit. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got 3 more up top. So this one you kind of just want to start prying off on this side and then work your way from left to right and then slowly tug on it. Like I said, it's going to be a little tight, but it does come off and you don't have to worry about any screws or anything like that. To remove the radio, you're going to see one deep 10 millimeter right there, 2, 3, and then another one. And when you do pull it, make sure you hold on from the bottom and tug it towards you. Make sure you don't scratch the sides of the dash pieces. So just kind of work your way out slowly, and then you'll feel it release from all the clips. Other than that, yeah, like I said, be careful because that bottom one might catch and scratch this part. These are the only plug that you will remove. The little clips, make sure you hold on to that. Sometimes it comes off, but obviously this one you don't have to unplug. It's just going to be the main plug. So 2, 4, 6, 7, and that's about it. As we prepare the front camera, I'm just kind of unboxing it just to kind of look over and things like that. It's going to come with obviously the locking nut and adhesive. Here's the model number for that front camera. It's going to come with a very long wire, but that's always a good thing anyway. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read it up a little bit just to see how to wire it up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Being that it's a front camera, it looks like it's showing here to connect the what's supposed to be for the reverse wire is going to go to accessory, which is why I'm going to show you what I did to the radio and have an accessory and ground ready. So other than that, that's about the only difference. Is instead of getting power from the reverse lamp, it's going to get power from the radio's accessory signal. I noticed underneath that there's stuff that I don't really want the wires to be rubbing on, so I went ahead and added a split loom 3/8 just to kind of maneuver it, and then this loom actually will absorb all the rubbing if there is any. But I'm just trying to be cautious at time whenever it comes to stuff like these. So you don't have to do it like this, but I would highly suggest you do the same. So I already found a way to run all the wires that I needed. I went ahead and went in between these two air vents, the front and the back, and then just zip tied it. That way it doesn't flap around. I feel more safer kind of having it in between two plastics than two metals. So the wires are already ready right here. Then we'll continue zip tying everything from the bottom. So just to kind of show you where I ran the wire, I don't know if you can see it right there, but it's in between the two air vents. So, and just kind of I zip tied it to this wire right here, trying to get it to zoom, but it's not cooperating. But you pretty much get the idea. Like I said, I'm trying to make it not, I guess, touch any metal. So That's why I put that loom. Not that it's touching anything right now, so which is kind of what I wanted. But anyway, just to kind of show you real quick. Just getting everything prepped. You're gonna be running the wires to that little opening right there. On the other side of that hole, there's gonna be a little nipple that you're gonna have to cut off. That way it'll expose the opening on the other side. So it's kind of a convenient thing that Toyota added. So hopefully like more manufacturers do that. But anyway, I got the video cable for the front camera, which is kind of just hanging in here. Here's the backup camera. We're just gonna leave that in there for now. Power wire ready. So let's go ahead and keep running everything in the back. And I still need to kind of tuck all these excess wires to this area right here. So we are moving quite a bit. Also mounted the base knob right here. Perfect spot for it. Not too far to reach. So far this is the wire that we had to work with. But we are going to kind of lessen all that, since the sub doesn't really need all the excess wire, plus it doesn't look that good when there's so many wires kind of just dangling that are extra. But anyway, that's the base knob, and then I'll go ahead and clean all this up. Just kind of running stuff along. I have the bundle right here kind of hidden, so I'm just kind of zip tying everything going to the back, and then zip tie everything here. So far we're in a good pace. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to mounting the front camera. It'll be right between here, so it'll be pretty centered. So just to take this off, it's gonna have 4 Phillips, 2, 3, 4, and then these 2 clips, and the whole grill pretty much just pops off. Just go ahead and place it on anything like this to protect it. You're gonna need a right angle and a step drill bit to be able to squeeze in this little spot right here. So let's go ahead and start drilling it until we reach the desired hole size. Got the camera mounted. The zip ties are pretty much holding it in place, and it's shooting through the corner right here just to make sure nothing hot touches it. Go ahead and plug everything in. The only thing that you're going to hook up on this side is the ground wire. The wire from the inside is going to be powering the camera. Went ahead and just zip tie it, kind of running along to that little grommet right there. So pretty much everything is almost done, so we can go ahead and pop the radio in, wire everything up, and then test the whole system. I mounted the mic in the very center, just kind of route it along here, and it'll come out here, and just, it's kind of hard to see, but let's see if I can shine a light on it real quick. Just kind of zip tie. It doesn't have to look perfect, just as long as it's zip tied, not going anywhere. I mounted the GPS in the harness right there. Like I said, it doesn't have to look pretty, as long as it's secured, zip tied, not flapping around in there. So I still need to cut that zip tie off. So I'm pretty much ready to mount the stereo and test everything out. If you remember when I was doing the harness, I added the accessory, which is this little nipple of wire right here. That's gonna go to the wire right here. That's gonna power the camera whenever the truck is on. So that's the reason why I added this ahead of time. The ground I don't need, so I'm gonna zip tie that in there, since I grounded it from the battery itself. I already got the remote wire plugged in. This is just an extra cable that I needed to extend from the parking brake wire. So I already got the reverse wire hooked up, got the parking brake. So this is the only thing I have left, and then start plugging everything in. I still need to clean everything up, so don't discourage just because you see it's so many wires here. I still need to clean everything up, but I do need to test it. But every plug is pretty much self-explanatory, and it plugs in all one way. Got the antenna right here, obviously everything plugged in. There's a couple in here that you won't need. Got the front camera already mounted, got the mic. I still need to hook up the sub, and this is to retain the factory USB plug. So the fun part is trying to make everything work in the back of this thing. So like I said, don't be discouraged of how everything looks. Once I have everything in there, I'm going to be zip tying and pretty much it's going to be all clean in the back. Another look of the engine bay area. So you can see everything is zip tied and secured. So overall looks pretty good. Here's the camera. I like how it sits there. Let's go ahead and go back to the back seat. Show you the amp and sub. Pretty tight fit, but you can see a little bit of the sub right there. I did ground it to the back. So everything is easily accessible. Make some changes, but other than that, everything is pretty much done. Once you have everything plugged in, I already tested everything, but obviously test it before you put everything back. Test the volume controls, the Bluetooth. That's alright. I'm on the front camera right now. Press back to get to it. This camera, front cam, and then for the reverse, retain the factory one. So pretty much self-explanatory. The USB in the bottom is what I'm using now to use the CarPlay. So there's no dangling wires or no USB in the glove box, which is the most common one if you don't have a factory one. So that looks pretty good to me. But anyway, everything seems to be working. So I like how everything so far. So we'll go back. See if I can get it to go to CarPlay. There you go. So overall, that's pretty much all it is. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Overall, the system is pretty nice, so I'm pretty happy with it. So far, everything is good. Peace. So I ended up reading a little bit more, and it shows here that if it's vertical mounted for the front, cut the white wire and the green wire. That will get rid of the guideline, and to me, it looks a little bit wider. That's kind of what you need, especially when hopefully there's no kids involved. And I like the fact that I can still see the bumper, so I know how far I am to anything that's going to be too close. So luckily I read it again, so I made the last minute change. Easy enough, took like a couple of seconds. Heat shrinked it after cutting it, so customer likes it a lot better like this. I made a last minute change. I read the instructions again for the front camera. Go ahead and cut the white and the green loop. That will get rid of the guideline and make the view a lot wider since it's a front view. So to me, it's a lot more safer than how it was before. So go ahead and do that. If not, you can leave it the way it is. See if you like it. And I'm going to show you what it looks like now.